And I have known for a long time that the nebulas that the scientists and astronomers, they call that space dust. And I call it space art. You can't have a perfectly formed, beautiful butterfly that's 115 million light years from one wingspan to the other, perfectly made. It didn't just appear in space. And so they see all these beautiful things on the way up home to heaven. If they like something, they'll even go around it a second time for them to see. And then you approach the brightest thing you'll see, because when you step out of that physical body, you now can see everything in the spiritual realm. Your eyes are open because you're now living in it in your spiritual body. So as a spiritual being, you can see the physical realm and the spiritual realm. And so they see all the angels escorting on the way up to heaven. They see angels pouring off the world called heaven, and they'll make two lines, and you pass right between them. They're cheering you all the way up to heaven. It's just the most fantastic experience. Another thing I love to tell people is, if you ever wonder, I don't know many believers that wouldn't like to just, lay a big one on the face of the enemy. I can tell you one of the greatest pleasures you get is on the way home to heaven, you pass through the second heaven where Satan has set up his kingdom. And when you go through that, you bust things up going through there, because he can't stop you from going home to heaven. You're a spiritual craft in your spiritual body going through a spiritual realm. It's like sending a bomb through your home down here. That's exactly what would happen. You literally will blow up things and blow a hole through his place on the way home to heaven. It's an awesome feeling, by the way. And then you get up there, and when you get out, there's a landing port where your transports or the chariots will come, just passing down through the atmosphere of heaven. People picture heaven with blue skies and fluffy clouds. There are magnificent things going on in the atmosphere of heaven all the way down to the actual world itself. There's like huge cubes, these crystal-like cubes with 1,000 angels in it spinning, and all they are doing is glorifying God. And like fire begins to come off of those things because of the holiness of what they're doing. And there's platforms up there in the realm of the atmosphere of heaven. Is so beautiful. The colors and just the smoke of God in the atmosphere of heaven. You're just undone coming down before you ever get down. And where they land, you can see the city a ways off and the gates a ways off, but the river of life comes right by there, and people will run out. Their family members sometimes don't even wait at the gate. They didn't say you had to wait at the gate. Most of them run through, and they're waiting right there. And they know when you're coming. It's not a surprise to people in heaven, and God certainly wasn't surprised when you came home to heaven. He knew the day that you were sent to this earth when you would come home. And so he's got everything prepared for everybody. And your family members many times will jump in the river of life with you, and they'll throw the water on each other. It's just so overwhelming. And then Jesus will come and escort you through this huge, massive doorway, an arched doorway, and just walking down this beautiful hallway. I tell people all the time, we did not create crown molding, and the beauty of that, it came from heaven. And you pass down this beautiful hallway, and here's this huge, massive, round throne room with the glory all over it, and the throne is in the middle of the throne room. Here's hundreds of thousands of the redeemed who've come home to heaven, and they're celebrating all the way around the throne. God didn't want himself on the back wall where you have to pass through, a sea of people to get to him. I like the way God designed it. And by the way, he told me in the years ahead on the earth that there will be many, many churches whose sanctuary will be designed just like the throne room, and the platform will be in the center, and it will rotate slowly, and they'll have two worship teams on either side, and all the people will be around just celebrating the glory of God. I love God's plans for this earth, so it's just exciting to share. There's just so much after having gone thousands of times to heaven. There's so much to share, and God really is wanting the people of this earth, but especially his kids, to know who he is. It's so important for us to know who we are, and the only way you're going to know that is if you know who he is, because you're made in his image. But God's got great plans for this earth. But he's actually laughing at man's plans right now.
Yeah, amen. Praise God. Wow, that's that's touching. I just love hearing about this. It's just because so many of us are just we're so excited about the opportunity to see the place. Have you met any of the patriarchs, like, Paul or Moses or any of the, David or any of the patriarchs of the New Testament or Old Testament when you were there?
I have, and besides the angels or the Lord or the Father, they are some of the few I have been allowed to see, and they've seen me. Most of the ones up there, God just hides me from them, or they'd be chasing me down the street, asking me to find their loved one down here on earth to say hello, just like they do down here. They want me to go up there and find their loved one, and he goes, if I allowed them to see you, they'd be doing the same thing up there. So, but I've met Father Abraham, I've seen Paul, the Apostle Paul, I have seen King David, I've seen Queen Esther, I've seen Mary Magdalene, I have seen Elijah. Oh, he is awesome. And so, but Father Abraham, I think I just fell in love with him when I saw him. There's such a joy coming from him. He's really big. He's really big-chested, and not everybody has silver hair. Nobody looks old up there, but he likes silver hair. And his hair is really kind of long and silver. He's got a beard, but his eyes are so filled with joy and love, and he actually meets you when you get through the gate. Peter doesn't stand at the gate. Peter's always fishing in the Crystal Sea, and that might sound funny to some people, but that was his gift he used on earth. He was a fisherman, and everybody uses their gifts in heaven. So every time I've ever seen him, he's been fishing. But Father Abraham greets you, and boy, he gives you the biggest bear hug. You just feel like you're being swallowed in his arms. And he's so filled with joy and welcomes you home to heaven. I've seen the Apostle Paul. Every time I've seen him, he's been in the same place. I know he does get up and go places. He has his own mansion also, I know that. But he's always in this beautiful garden. He's always sitting on a bench, and he has got people sitting all over the ground, standing up around him, and he still talks about the epistles that he wrote. But what you hear now, this is what's so captivating about heaven. You hear the other side of the story. He now knows everything that was going on in the spirit realm through his whole life on earth. In other words, he knows how heaven intervened, how things were brought to him, why he understood things, how heaven interacted with him on his life, and he shares that with the epistles, and it so brings them to life. It's really exciting. So that's what he's always doing. King David is not a really tall person. He's got red hair and a red beard, and I have to say that he's quite a character. I can see why people were so drawn to him when he was down here on the earth. Still talks a lot about God, how much he loves God, and he still actually likes to sing, but the only thing I've seen him do in the times I've been there was he loves to take you in his own chariot and take you on tours of heaven. He likes to take you on tours, and he just loves it. He's very fantastic. Queen Esther is beautiful. She has a lot of wisdom, just a really beautiful person. She loves to come and visit people when they first come home to heaven. And I tell people, besides your family members, you will get visits from the apostles, from the prophets, from Jesus himself, because they all want to know you. They want to meet you. I think Mary Magdalene is probably one of the most beautiful women I've seen in heaven. She looks like she's about 17 or 18. You can't always tell. Everybody kind of look like they're in their 20s, anywhere in their 20s, where it looks like that eternal age where you can't see any kind of age on them. Some people think you're going to be 33, but that doesn't mean you're going to be 33 just because Jesus was. That was just the appointed time for him. But most people literally look like they did when they were like in college or something, except you look perfect in every way, because you're not in your natural body that may have had, just different discolorations or different markings on you, or maybe everything wasn't made perfect, but your spiritual body, your spiritual being is perfect in every way. So I have seen Elijah, his dark hair, he's got piercing blue eyes. I would have loved to be able to see when he had that encounter with the prophets of Baal. I'm sure that would be, you probably can watch all that when you get to heaven, by the way. They record a lot of what happened in the Bible, and you can actually go see for yourself, not a remake of it, but what actually happened. That's one of the things I love about the Father is he recorded many things, like when he made the earth the first time and put the dinosaurs on it, and then how he froze it, and then millions of years later, he defrosted it and started taking it apart in verse 2. So verse 1:1 is a fullness of time, verse 1:2 is another whole time on this earth. And that's why the scientists and the creationists can't always agree. But the earth itself is literally millions of years old. Man's lease on the earth is only like 6,000 years, but there was a lot of time that passed by this earth before he made man and put it on it.
Oh, praise Jesus. I'm so glad that you said that. We cover that constantly on this show because a lot of folks get lost under the 6,000 year, young earth notion.
Well, there was a lot of earth time passed by before man was ever put on this earth.
Praise Jesus. I have a question for you. This is kind of coming from me, and I know there's a lot of listeners out there that probably, have the same question. You had mentioned that, the Lord will, we use our gifts, the gifts that we were given, the talents that we were given here on the earth. Those are oftentimes the kinds of things that we might, be able to do when we're in heaven. And what in the world would the technology people do, the computer folks?
Well, they do fantastic things in heaven, and actually he's always taking me and showing me new things that have been created in heaven. And people go, why would he do that? Because there's always people coming home, and they all have different gifts, and he lets you use that gift. And I'm not talking about your spiritual gift. I'm talking about the gift that is you, the thing that you love, that if you could do it and make a living doing it, that's probably your gift. Most people, it's your hobby. But high-tech people that design those things, that's a creativity. That's an art. God actually calls it an art that he gave them. And there's a whole area in heaven called Techno City. And it's all about where the people go that love to create the high-tech stuff. You still create and invent in heaven. But you can imagine you use 100% of your abilities and capabilities. There's even a place in heaven called the Idea Zone, and that's where all the witty ideas. I love when revelation comes to the scriptures, but there's a way God gets those ideas and inventions down on the earth, and they still can use them in heaven. There's a cloud, this huge cloud I saw on the streets of gold, and it had like lightning bolts coming out and bursts of color and light coming out of it, and people actually run into that cloud in heaven. They'll just stand there, and all of a sudden they go, I got it, and they'll run into this place called Creation Lab. You invent all kinds of things. I mean, whatever it is that you use now on earth in your area of creativity, you can still get more of that when you get to heaven. So this area, this Idea Zone, what God does is I saw all these little glittery pieces in it, almost look like glitter. And he said, those are the seeds. Those are all the ideas and inventions. And we take a wave off of the Idea Zone and we send it around the earth. And as that wave passes around the earth, it drops all these little seeds into the mind of man. There are the ideas and invention. He goes, and that's how they get them. Well, you can do the same thing in heaven. Well, Techno City is not very far from where this Idea Zone is. And those people's mansions I saw were fantastic because they can create things that are so beyond our mind or imagination in heaven. And they even have these tech fairs where you come in the streets of gold. You see all the new gadgets and all the new things that they themselves haven't invented. And you actually can get them for yourself, take them to your mansion and use them. That's what they do in heaven. Everybody shares whatever their gift is. God gives them all the stuff they need to do that, whether it's an artist or a restaurant or a florist or a fashion designer, whatever it is, you have it your gift. That's why there's so many things to do in heaven, because that's how they operate. You're going to use your gift here, but you're certainly going to use it in heaven. So all the high-tech people, and I'd say even the geeks, they get to create so many amazing things. Maybe they've dreamed of them down here on earth and thought, how could that possibly be created? In heaven, it is possible to create things like that. So they actually get to live in a special area, and it's just awesome. Heaven is awesome.